I think I've got an intro.
Nice.
Like I say, I'm gonna wing it, but I'm gonna use that top topic.
Cool. I'm looking forward to your intro, dude.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to the Scrambled Checksum podcast. My name is Ethan, and as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host Kieran. How are you doing, Kieran?
I've just realised we forgot to sync clap.
Good point. Do you want to do that? We're not. It's the heat. It's the heat.
It's the heat. I didn't want to interrupt you because you were doing so well with the intro, but I realised like a couple of seconds in, I was like, it was something we haven't done yet.
It's like that
it's
dread.
My favourite part to do.
Oh, we're really not on it now. I'm worried that we're going to ball something else up.
Yeah, we forgot to start recording actually. No, I haven't.
Don't do that to me.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh god, I'm all a shambles now.
It was such a good intro too. You nailed it.
Hello and welcome to the
Scramble to the Welcome podcast.
Welcome, some. My name is Kieran, and oh wait, no, that's not right.
Scrambled and welcome to the podcast checksum.
I always feel like we should use that. Oh Jesus. Okay.
It's there for you if you want to edit it.
Hello and welcome back to the Scrambled Checksum podcast. My name is Ethan, and as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host Kieran. How the devil are you?
I am warm. It's very hot here in the UK.
It is hot. It is hot, and that has led to me really, really wanting to just sit back and relax with a cold beverage and a tub of hummus and appropriate dipping material.
Nice sun-dried hummus.
Yes, just to sit back and watch some of my favourite streaming content, such as Amazon Prime's The Boys, which has a new season out. The final episode aired this week as of recording, which means I could finally start watching the season so I could binge it, because watching an episode a week just ain't it. Sorry, guys. Sorry Amazon.
Sorry, Amazon.
Sorry, Amazon. Life hacks. Talking of life hacks around Amazon, though, I have another one. So you'll recall, I think we discussed on the you'll recall we discussed on the podcast a little while back that Amazon has introduced adverts to their standard tier, which was until now the only tier of pricing.
They were the first to do it, weren't they? I remember seeing the email that said, hey.
No, Netflix introduced a cheaper tier with adverts.
But Amazon were the first to do it where at the standard price, you got ads. Because I remember I had a free trial of Prime Video that I got in the letter through the door at the time, and I got an email to say, like, oh, hey, next year we're bringing in the ads.
I don't know whether anyone else has done it, have they?
No, Disney don't. Yeah. And I pray that they will continue that.
Disney have raised the price, though.
Disney have got a lower tier that has ads now that I remember.
Yeah, but the price of the standard tier has gone up.
Yes,
but
they've
not tried to sugarcoat it in the same way Amazon did.
No, Amazon's was probably the most insulting, because they were like...
Yeah, they were like, the price is staying the same, but now you have ads. And if you want to have no ads, then pay more.
All the other ones were you could pay a lower price and get ads. Amazon's was no, your service is getting worse that you're paying for.
Both are bad approaches.
Both bad situations.
I feel like at least Disney, as far as I know, didn't lie about it. They just kind of put the price up.
I think Disney is cheaper as well.
I don't know, to be honest.
But then Amazon, you get delivery.
Anyway, if you do have the ad tier Prime, which a lot of people have, guess what seems to work that I did not expect?
Can I guess?
Go on.
Is it where if you download the episode, you can then watch it offline and then you don't get ads? I don't know.
No.
I don't know if Prime supports downloads, to be fair.
I think it does on certain shows, but only if you're using the app, and the PC app doesn't seem to support it.
Right, so not the downloads. Obviously, you can't watch it with your internet turned off because it won't be able to stream it.
But you can watch it in your browser with an ad blocker.
Oh, is it that simple?
Yep. I discovered it by accident.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I just figured
I wasn't even trying to circumvent it. I wasn't even thinking about it. And I was watching an episode of The Boys on my computer, and I was like, I'm pretty sure there should have been an ad break by now. And there hadn't been. And then I watched another episode on the TV, and then I realised it's the ad blocker.
I would have assumed that the way they served them, it wouldn't have been blockable, but I guess it's just the same as like a YouTube ad, but then YouTube's been getting better at blocking them from what I've heard.
Yeah, I've not experienced that with YouTube, to be honest. YouTube, the ad block still works fine on YouTube for me, despite all the videos. I've not even had YouTube be slower when I've got an ad block enabled. I mean, I don't tend to watch YouTube with an ad blocker on unless I'm watching a live stream or something, or I'm trying to watch a live stream and it insists in putting 2 unskippable ads when I'm trying to get to the live stream quickly so I don't miss something. But
yeah, the to be fair, I use YouTube Premium, but I still sometimes watch YouTube with ads because sometimes you'll want to look up like a tutorial video on something, but you don't want your recommended to become that for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'll watch it in incognito, but then because I'm not logged in, I'll get ads, so I'll have ad block turned on for that.
Yeah.
And the only time I found it be a bit weird is where sometimes it will start loading the ad in, and I'll get like 2 seconds of like black screen where it's tried to load in the ad, and then the video will play. Yeah,
I get that. You do get like a little stutter, like
that's it.
on Amazon Prime, where like the ad space should be, but then it just doesn't happen.
That's a really cool. That's really cool to know, because I figured it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, same here. And the interesting thing about Amazon is it does seem to allow at least 1080p streaming in the browser. I don't know about 4K because I don't have a 4K monitor, but I don't think it allows 4K, but it's perfectly usable and like viewable to watch in the browser. So don't tell Amazon, guys.
Which ad blocker is that for any viewers, for educational purposes, of course?
I'm just using AdBlock Ultimate on Firefox.
Oh, right, yeah.
So speaking of ad blockers, some people in the past have said that using an ad blocker is akin to piracy. And,
absolutely.
And Mr. Lewis Rossman has disagreed with this stance.
Yes.
The stance was taken by one Linus Sebastian.
I forget what Linus' take was.
Formerly my hero. Now I feel quite hurt still about the whole thing. But anyway,
what was Linus's take? Because I can't remember. I watched that video a long time ago when he first put it out. The like piracy.
It was basically that he was saying basically not that it legally is the same thing. To be honest, I kind of agree with what he's saying. It's not legally the same thing, but it basically is the same thing because the agreement when you go onto YouTube and you accept the terms of service by going onto YouTube is that the content you watch is free because it is supported by the distribution of ads. Therefore, your method of paying for it is giving your time to view the ad. And if you're not doing that, then you're not paying for it. So, technically speaking, it's the same as watching anything else that you should pay for to watch, but you didn't pay for.
So I'd be interested to know how he felt about that if people were to always skip his baked-in ads.
I mean, I don't know. But let's not get into that.
No.
But anyway, speaking of Mr. Lewis Rossman, he is... I don't quite know exactly how he's related. I think he's on the board for a company called FUTO. I don't know whether he's a founder.
He's not a founder, I don't think. I think he's almost like a champion,
like
for
a brand
it.
ambassador sort of thing. Yeah,
I think he's a bit more involved because I think they're like, we want to get this stuff done. Here's our mission statement, and then he kind of like, I think he's got a say in what projects they fund because I've heard him say before about how like he's got authority to like write checks for funding projects.
Yeah.
So I think he can kind of have a say in what they do as well because he does like the legislation stuff as well, right? Where he'll go and try and get right to repair passed in different states.
Yeah. And, the kind of clunky roundabout segue is this company has released a couple of pieces of software at this point. One called YouTube Vanced, I think is... Oh, no, not YouTube Vanced. YouTube Vanced was another one. GreyJ, which is kind of like a replacement for YouTube Vanced, which I think YouTube Vanced basically got taken down by Google.
And they got... Didn't FUTO's one get some angry letters from Google.
Yeah, they're basically saying,
TOS.
you've broken TOS for using our API, and they were basically like, yeah, we're not using the API, so this is irrelevant.
I'm really curious how that works. I mean, let's look up like how it works and what it does. So is it like...
I think they must just be using some kind of web crawler or something.
And what does it... Because the idea was it was to show videos from people, right? Give you like your own...
Basically,
YouTube
you can follow a person rather than a person's account on a specific platform.
Right, so it shows you their videos on...
I've not really used it, to be honest, so I don't really want to go into too much detail. But it basically... This app, the GreyJ app, and now FUTO Keyboard for Android, both have one thing in common, and that is that they are open source, but not free. However, you can use it for free without paying, and you will have access to all the features. It will not nag you to pay in any way.
Oh, wow.
And that is between, as Lewis Rossman put it, that is between you and your God.
Also, you can just be like, I'm not going to pay for it. And it'll just, like, they're like, here it is for free.
You literally, the download is free. If you want to pay for it, there's a link in the app where you can go onto their website and pay for a license. And then you can press a button in the app saying, I've paid for it.
And that's it. And
that's
then
it.
If you don't, it works exactly the same. It's just you have to live with the fact that you're... And I'm assuming the fact that it's open source means that if you were savvy enough, you could just download the source, compile it yourself.
Yeah, and fork it. And they said we won't stop you. If you want to fork it, make your own version, go for it.
Not that you would need to compile it from source if you just wanted the basic app, right? Because if they just distribute it for free anyway, and it's up to you if you... Yeah. How much is it if you
it's about $5.
Oh, right. So it's like... And that's, I assume, because it's Lewis Rossman, lifetime license.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, they're not going to do like a pay every month.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so I've downloaded FUTO Keyboard because I've been a long time user of Gboard. I've kind of I've used it partially because I got used to it when it was just the default keyboard, and then I think my last phone I installed it, and it was just, in my opinion, it did everything I needed it to do. I didn't like that it was made by Google, but there weren't really any alternatives that were privacy focused and not shit.
Yeah.
So I figured I may as well just use Gboard because I know how to use it.
Yeah, I use Gboard for the same reason, because it's like, I used to use a third-party one. I forget what it's called. I think it was called Swipe. But then they added that same feature into Gboard.
Yeah, I think there was Microsoft Swift, or there was Swift Keys, which a lot of people used to use before Microsoft bought it.
That was it. It was Swift Keys as well I used for a while. And then, I just switched to Gboard because they had the same functionality that I was using. And, yeah. Yeah,
so if you install FUTO Keyboard, what you will find is you would be forgiven for thinking that it is just Gboard.
Oh, really?
It looks identical. It's
cool.
It's compatible with Material U. So if you've got a Material U set up on your phone, which I do, I'm using a Google Pixel 6 Pro. It takes on all the colors and everything that you have set for that. It's customizable in basically the same way in terms of you can set your keyboard height, distance from the bottom. You can have long presses for symbols turned on or off. You can have a num key row. The predictive text appears at the top exactly the same. You've got your emoji key. The only thing it's missing is any feature that would require access to the internet.
So you can't do like... Well, it's got the voice thing, actually. I was going to say you can't do
but everything, even the voice thing, everything is done locally. So the voice model is downloaded to your device, and all the processing is done locally. It does not have it doesn't even ask you to have access to your phone's internet connection, location, anything. The only thing it asks you for is access to your microphone, which obviously it needs if you're going to use voice type, but it only does that once you go to use voice type.
I thought it was super cool as well how, because I saw Lewis's video introducing it, where he's done like a slideshow.
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that he was like, it's obviously able to improve the model as well over time.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he said like, oh, I learned that my name's spelled with 2 N's, and now when I start typing Rossman, the predictive thing will give me like the proper spelling of my surname.
Yeah.
Which is really cool with it being like an offline model.
Yeah. It's fine. I do not miss Gboard. The only thing that I missed a little bit was Gboard's GIF integration with Giphy.
Oh, yeah, which I assume they can add that because Giphy's not anything special. Right?
I hope they don't add it.
Oh, because it's like another online.
Well, it would require an internet connection and also to a third party. I don't think they will.
Yeah, I guess so.
And also, I only missed it because I've always just used Giphy for adding GIFs because it's in the same place in every app. And then I realized every app that I use for messaging has Giphy integration anyway.
So you just use a direct.
Yeah. Like WhatsApp,
I'm sure as well.
You just tap the emoji button that I'd never paid any attention to before because I just used the emoji button on my keyboard, and there's GIFs. Discord, exactly the same. Those are the only two that I really use, to be honest. So
yeah. I just never use GIFs.
Oh well. I forget you're a bit older than me.
Yeah, my messages are very unenriched. I don't enrich my communications.
Okay, boomer.
I don't need to enrich my communications with animated imagery. I use the spoken word.
To be fair, I mostly don't use them. I only tend to use them in group chats when people start bantering.
Yeah, I'm not good at using them.
Neither am I. I don't get half the references, and I think most of the references I get, most people don't get.
Yeah, and then or I'll send one of them and be like, I don't know if that was the right.
You can't beat a good tumbleweed though.
Yeah, that one's quite self-explanatory,
especially
when it's fitting for like the reaction that your GIF's gonna get.
Yeah.
Or that your message is gonna get. So with the FUTO keyboard, with the GIF stuff, I'm guessing someone will just fork it anyway if enough people want it, and yeah, they probably won't add the original one. Does it do the swipey keyboard that I use?
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's honestly, I would say this is exactly what I did. I downloaded it to play around with for a week, used it, and was like, you know what? It's still technically in alpha, I think.
Yeah, Lewis in his presentation was like, I forget the guy's name, but the guy that developed it told him to say like, oh, this is in pre-alpha.
But it works completely fine.
Yeah, but he was like, I've been using...
In fact, the only thing that doesn't work, or at least that wasn't working when I tried it, but I don't know whether it's been fixed, is the payment link, ironically.
That's so funny.
Everything else seems to work, themes and everything.
The fact that it uses stuff like the your surfaces.
Yeah.
With
the material.
The material, sorry, not surfaces. Yeah. The fact that it uses that and it's allegedly pre-alpha.
Yeah.
Like that feels like that's like it's been finished for a year and like now you're adding extra features to it, right?
Yeah. I think they're just managing expectations because they're rolling it out for the first time and they don't know what issues it's going to have.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it's Android.
I mean, I think some people have had issues with it, to be fair, but I haven't on 2 devices because I was before I switched to the Pixel when I first started testing it. So I was testing it originally on my Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, and now I've got it on my Pixel 6 Pro, and both have been absolutely fine.
I guess it's on because it's on Android as well. There's like a lot of devices that they have to deal with like weird edge cases on. Yeah,
but that's the thing. I think. I don't know. I imagine maybe some people are installing it on older versions of Android. My Sony was on Android 12. The Pixel's obviously on Android 14. Currently the latest available version, unless you go for the beta of Android 15.
But there'll be people as well using it on like ancient tablets, right?
Yeah, which I've considered trying, but maybe another time. But yeah, like I say, it's worked absolutely fine for me, and I'm really happy with it.
Does it get a thumbs up from Ethan?
It does, yeah. I've not really put it through its paces fully. Like I've not tested out all the voice typing and everything, but I don't really use that. Everything that I want it to do, it does fine.
Yeah, I've never used the voice typing, to be fair.
No, I don't really use voice typing.
And I'm gonna guess as well that like making a keyboard is probably like one of those things that feels like it's really simple, but is actually like incredibly difficult to get right.
I do wonder how much of it they have designed from scratch. Because, I mean, like I say, it does look remarkably like Gboard.
And then is Gboard...
Okay, it does look slightly different. I'm just flicking between the two.
But for like like the feel of it too, right?
Yeah.
That's also something else that you have to get right.
But if you use Gboard, everything is basically in the same place.
Yeah.
It's in the same place you'd expect. If you're used to using Gboard, it will be a very smooth transition.
So like big props to them, because that was probably a really difficult problem to solve in that like there's lots of like nuances for like how long do you have to press a key before it registers as a long press.
Well, you can adjust it. It has a default. Wow. It's all customizable.
I guess Gboard is as well, isn't it, in that respect? I've never gone in and I'm not one to
well, you see, I'm a bit of a weirdo, so I've always had a taller keyboard than most people have.
Right.
And I have the number row turned on, which I can't see why you wouldn't.
I have the number row turned on.
And that's something that I really hate about iOS is you can't have a number row in there.
Oh, keyboard. I love having that. Yeah, I'm a number row turned on guy.
Yeah, it's so frustrating not having that there. Also, what I've done on this Pixel, because it's quite a big phone, you can move the position of the keyboard. So I've got it displaced probably like twice the thickness that you'd have if you had the old traditional home back multitask buttons.
Right.
So because that means when I'm holding it, that's where my thumbs kind of rest because of how the size of my hands. It was really uncomfortable having to reach all the way down to the bottom of the device because then trying to reach the top of the device. But the way I hold it so I can reach the top of the device with my thumb means that I kind of naturally hold it there so I don't have to shuffle it around too much in my hands to reach all of the screen. So I really like that you can do that. And like I say, I've adjusted the height of it. You can adjust, I think you can even adjust like how wide the keyboard is. And yeah, it's very customizable, but also it just works out of the box. You don't have to customize it. It's fine out of the box. I just have.
I think that's where a lot of the open source ones go wrong, is that it's like you have to customize it for it. Like out of the box, it works like absolute trash.
Yeah.
So that's really impressive.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I'm also, for the first time ever, using a custom launcher.
Oh, is that? It feels like it's also Lewis Rossman.
It's not.
No,
it's not. Although if he did do a custom launcher, I feel like it'd be great. I'm just using Nova Launcher, and the only reason for doing that is basically on the Google Pixel, there is no way on the Google Pixel's default launcher to remove the Google search bar from the bottom of the screen. That is the only reason.
Yep. Yeah, so, that's not a new thing.
Yeah, you can in a lot of customized versions of the Google Pixel launcher that ship as default, like the launcher on Sony, the Xperia Home they call it, looks identical pretty much to the Pixel launcher, but you can turn that off. So
yeah, that's just like a Google thing where they're like, oh. Yeah. No, you can't. We don't want you. We don't want you thinking about other searches. In fact, constantly be thinking about Google search.
Yeah, which is it's kind of frustrating because they've been forced, at least in the EU, they have to, when you first set up Play Store, it asks you whether you want to install another search, another browser, and all that stuff. But if you pick another search, I thought, oh, maybe if I pick, say, DuckDuckGo, it will replace the search box with a DuckDuckGo search box. But no.
Does it just still stay as Google?
Yeah.
How is that allowed?
I think probably because the EU and legislators haven't thought of it.
Oh, that's like, that should not be allowed, right?
No.
Because it's like, oh, you can change what the search engine to whatever you like, but the one that's...
I think probably the argument is that a lot of, like, very few phones come with the default Google launcher.
But still,
so
like the Pixel...
so it's probably not considered a big. And I think it's probably more common than not that custom launchers allow you to not have it there.
I guess it's because like Google make that phone as well, so they could say like, oh, this is because.
Yeah, they can probably get away with it.
Yeah, like we're not forcing other manufacturers to use it. This is our phone that we made.
Yeah.
The first phone engineered by Google.
Yeah. It's a nice phone. I'm not gonna lie.
I was impressed with it.
I kind of hate that I like it.
That's the thing. Maybe you can. Maybe you can. Speaking of Lewis Rossman, maybe you can do the trick that they accused him of modifying it to turn it into a freedom phone. Not a freedom phone.
Not a freedom. That's got some negative connotations.
Yeah, it's got very negative. I don't even know if that's still being made.
Well, I mean, it's probably is still being made. The kind of whatever it turned out. Wasn't it some like phone that was only sold in China or something that they
there was
basically...
it was a rebadged one, I think.
Yeah.
Or it was like white label manufacturing.
Ironic considering at the time it was when Trump had his massive vendetta against China. It's just
and that's
all his supporters would go, yeah, freedom phone.
made in Shenzhen. But I was thinking of the Fairphone. Yeah,
the Fairphone, yeah. I think I'm probably, like I said to you offline, I think I am going to, basically once I've repaired this other Pixel, probably the other Pixel, I'm going to put graphene on and see how daily driverable it is. And then I'll probably switch to using the Pixel with graphene on it if it is daily drivable.
Nice. What are you doing at the minute about, because I was thinking about this the other day, after you told me about this offline. How are you doing your, are you swapping your SIM in between them, or do you now have like 2 SIMs that you're using?
I just don't have a SIM in one of them.
Oh, okay, so you keep one as like just connects to Wi-Fi and...
Yeah, but you can do Bluetooth tethering when you're out and about, and also even like WhatsApp actually now lets you use the client as a linked device. So you can even have WhatsApp on 2 phones for the same account as well. You can have multiple accounts on one phone as well.
Oh my god, at last. I remember that being such a freaking pain.
Yeah. WhatsApp linked devices has actually got quite good. It was really shit when it first came out, but like the piece that I've been using the Windows WhatsApp app now for a little while, and it actually works really well. You can even do video and voice calls on it quite well. Messages all sync.
Got a lot better.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the iPad OS app. Please. Meta.
What?
Please.
There isn't one.
No. Just like until what was it? It was only in the last version that they finally added the weather app to the iPad OS.
Oh my god.
Because they wanted to do it special or some bullshit. And do you know what one of the big features for iPad OS this year when the new version comes out?
What's that?
Calculator.
Oh my god.
Finally.
That is...
The iPad's only been out for 14 years.
Why? Why would you...
Because they wanted to do it special. They didn't want to just put a big version of the iPhone calculator app and iPhone weather.
Special?
Yeah.
What's special about it?
Well, to be fair, it is pretty cool. They're basically completely going for whatever that... what's the name of that software that basically everyone uses who's doing like a maths degree and stuff?
Oh,
Wolfram Alpha.
That's it.
It can basically you can write formulas and it will solve them.
That's pretty cool, but like...
Got all the handwriting recognition. It is pretty cool. I can't really explain. Watch the video on it. It is cool.
That's pretty cool.
But they could have just put a calculator without that stuff in it.
Yeah, and then added that as the feature update.
Yeah. Because for ages, I've been having to use this fucking app as a calculator on my iPad that looks identical to the iPhone calculator app, apart from it has adverts in it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the whole cottage industry probably sprang up there.
Because Apple... They probably even stole the source code and Apple probably just went...
Yeah, it's probably... I dread to think, like, if you went onto the... I imagine it's such a minefield of going onto the iPad OS App Store and looking for a calculator.
Yeah, and just scrolling through all the ones is like, why does a calculator need access to all this personal information?
Yeah, contacts, phone, contacts, camera.
Share the sums that you just did with your friends.
Yeah, yeah, and then, like you said, they'll be full of ads, probably slow down your device.
Would you like to use Calculator as your default messaging service?
Like, wait a minute.
Wait, hang on a second.
What's this reading?
I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, allow all.
Allow Calculator to access your location?
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe it's regional. Geo-calculating.
Allow Calculator to have custody of your children?
Allow Calculator access to your health data? Although the iPad doesn't collect that, does it?
Allegedly.
No, allegedly not. But that's super cool that that Lewis Rossman's doing stuff like that, and I hope he continues.
Yes, so do I. I look forward to seeing FUTO's future endeavors. It kind of makes me hopeful for the future that a company like that seems to be able to actually exist still.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see him like releasing stuff as well, rather because I know they've done a ton of good work with the campaigning, but obviously that was in the US. But like having them release these products.
Yeah, it's nice to actually have some solutions, not just pointing out all the problems all the time.
Yeah, and not just like I feel like the lobbying really like must take a lot of determination because I feel like it's very frustrating.
Yeah, definitely.
From some of the stories he's told about when he's been lobbying and like what some people who are involved in government have told him, like, and how lacking they are in knowledge of that kind of thing, that would crush my soul.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
to have them actually releasing stuff's really cool. And I hope that whoever some billionaire, right, who's bankrolling it.
I gotta be honest, I don't really know a whole lot. I probably should look into it more.
Yeah, because obviously it's not Lewis who's funding it, and for what I understand, there's basically a billionaire who said to him, like, I don't like big tech. Go after them.
Yeah.
I'll fund you. And I hope that continues.
Yeah, me too.
But speaking of cool tech like this, I was thinking the other day when I don't know if you watched the, Dank Pods.
Yes, I don't religiously watch him, but yeah, I've watched a few of his videos.
But I watched one of his car videos the other day.
Oh yeah.
On his car channel. And he was talking about how they were trying to work on one of his friends' internal combustion engine cars. From like, I think the car was like 6 years old. I think he said it was 2018. Don't quote me on that. And he was like, the problem we've got now is that the OEM parts have all gone to crap. So when we repair these old cars, it's we don't trust the repair anymore. And it's getting harder and harder to keep them on the road. And eventually people are going to give up. And it made me start thinking like...
This is a 6-year-old car.
I think it was 6 years old, yeah.
Jesus.
It was a problem was that the OEM sorry, not the OEM parts, the aftermarket parts were shittier. The dealer ones were still good, but like trying to like getting an official like
it's usually
Ford
ridiculously expensive and the lead times are really long and
So like if you have to trust those, it becomes really hard to keep the cars on the road. And I know it's like kind of unrelated because it's about cars, but it got me thinking like, what's going to happen as we get further and further away from like some good old tech? Is there going to become like a really big market for people still keeping alive some of these old products? So like, you know how, I don't know, like a PS4 with no disk drive.
Yeah.
That will eventually become unusable, right? Because the game's servers won't run if they're online only. You'll only be able to play single player games, or like the software won't get supported.
Well, I don't know whether it'll be that different for the disk drive version because it's my understanding that the vast majority of games don't have the full install on the disk.
Well, that too, right? So like, it's really sad because I feel like there's this era of tech which will gradually go obsolete and die, but it's not like you'll just be able to buy an old one and still play it like you can with like a PS2.
Yeah.
So it got me worrying, like, what's going to happen when we start running out of like working PS2s? I know you can emulate that, so it's not such a problem, but like, in terms of being able to play it, is there going to become like an industry of people who are keeping these old things going?
I think there already is.
I guess so.
I don't think it's super big right now. I do get what there's. This has been a kind of like a looming problem, I think, on the horizon for a little while, hasn't it? And it's one of the reasons why so many people are pushing back on DRM and stuff, right?
Yeah, because it's like you see videos of people who'll take like an old console and like restore it lovingly, and then it will work again. But then you think of like something that relies on servers that have been shut down.
Yeah.
It's like you could restore it and it could be in full working order, but all it'll do is boot to like a home screen.
Yeah, well, this is partly like my motivation for doing the project at the moment, where I'm like starting to buy films and stuff and rip them, because like it's I don't want to pay for streaming services, but also it's partially like an archiving project. I'm kind of like, oh, what if we get really used to only having access to these films through streaming services, and then those streaming services disappear one day, and
or like it goes on to one that we can't get in the UK.
Yeah, like
obviously you just use NordVPN for that, but
yeah, like this is the thing though. We don't own things anymore.
No, and it's like I know the open source community have done some really cool things with like I think the Wii. Don't quote me on this, but I'm sure the Wii. Some people set up like an alternate version of like Nintendo's old servers that you can set your console to connect to.
Yeah.
And it will work like it used to.
And then Nintendo went after them, I think, didn't they?
I wouldn't be surprised. Nintendo have a history of going after stuff
which is
like that.
So I feel like there needs to be something done about this, because like, I mean,
you don't care about it enough to keep it going, Nintendo.
It seems like kind of like it's unimportant. There's definitely bigger problems in the world, but I feel like I think my view is when it comes to like games, like these things are actually part of culture. I think like the Nintendo. When someone says Nintendo Wii to me, that invokes an entire era of history, like of my life. Like so many memories come flooding in linked to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I think these things are cultural, and loads of people go, "Oh, that's so sad that we're." But no, I don't think it is. It's just part of. People get so hung up on what should be sad, what's sad, and what's fine, and what's acceptable to be something that people reminisce about, and everything. I think these things do form an important part of people's lives, and these games are like, I mean, yeah, they're made by some big corporation. To make money, but that doesn't mean like there's people who really care about them are working on and developing, and it's a piece of art, and I think that should be preserved. And I think it's wrong for. I don't think it should be allowed. But basically, if a company's washed their hands of something and gone, right, we're not going to put any more work into this, that should be. If they're going to stop supporting the online services side of it, then like what right do they have to stop other people then jumping in and providing those services?
Yeah, that should be fair game. Like, I'm not saying they have to open source all the work that they did on it, but like that should be fair game for people to, if they want to do homebrew stuff.
Yeah, because like what actual damage does it do to the Nintendo?
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, it boosts their brand.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when games get their servers shut down. It's like that should be fair game if someone wants to set up like and pay from their own pocket.
And in a lot historically it kind of has been that way, but it's only recently the likes of Nintendo and I think a handful of others, but I confess myself a bit ignorant when it comes to the exact details. It was only recently though I think that it started to become a thing that people are getting litigious about, which is just I think they're just out. It's so cynical. They're just out. It's like they just see an opportunity to make some money. They don't actually think they've been wronged. They're just like, oh, we could make some money out of this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you have like an old game, and it had like licensed music in, and then the music license has lapsed, and then because of that, it gets pulled from all of the online game stores, so it's impossible to buy it even if you wanted to.
Yeah,
and it's like, are you like for the music publishing people? Are you really losing out from having that game still able to be sold?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get that. I guess it's a difficult one because, like, in that case, in the olden days, before the like digital online marketplaces, it wouldn't have at that point it would have been stopped being stocked on store shelves, right?
But you can't resell them.
But you would have been able to buy
account.
a second-hand
Yeah, exactly.
copy, which you just can't. Well, you just can't do now.
No, it's like hardly any games have got like a second-hand or like a disc version that you can buy and then just play it.
And I mean, to these studios, that's good, because that's basically every time someone wants to buy, whether it be a film or an album or a game, every time someone wants to buy that, they have to buy a brand new copy, which means they're constantly making money. So
yeah, or like
they are incentivized to do it, really.
Or you like pay for their streaming service and then they take the show off that you want, and then you have to go and pay another streaming service and get it, so you're paying for it again and again and again.
A lot of stuff you just cannot actually get on physical media.
Because have you found that, I guess, with your archiving attempts? Have you been like, oh god, I can't?
Well, there's some stuff that basically the only way for me to obtain it is to pirate it.
Yeah, which is like absurd, because that's the only alternative. You're not even really pirating it, because it's not like...
Well, like, yeah, it's like, well, how else can I get it? Because there are some things that are basically you can't really stream it anymore, and you also can't buy it anywhere. Or you can buy it on DVD, but you can't stream it anymore. But DVD's like potato quality, but you can't buy it on Blu-ray, even though it was available to stream in HD.
Yeah, it exists in that quality.
So what do you do at that point if you want? Like, it's ridiculous.
Or the only DVD available is in like NTSC format, and there's like 2 left on planet Earth, so it's gonna cost you £600 on eBay from someone selling it. Yeah,
and it's crazy, and it's, in the vast majority of cases, DRM is protecting, in inverted commas, companies that really don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not actually, they always pull out the poor artist card, but actually the only thing that's affecting the amount of pay that those artists get is those corporations and how much they decide to skim off as profit before they pay their workers.
Yeah, and like surely the DRM does its job almost within the first year of the game being out, right? That's when the bulk of the sales are going to happen. Like, why do you still need it 5 years later on a game that you...
Especially when it causes so many issues as well.
Yeah, and like turns stuff that like would otherwise be playable into like, oh no, you can't play this game anymore because we put DRM in it, but now can't connect to verify anymore because the servers got shut down. DRM
is the number one reason why... It's pretty much the number one reason why, if a game is not going to work in Linux that's been written for Windows, the most likely reason is it will be something to do with DRM.
Yeah, some stupid like, do you remember Games for Windows Live?
It's a little before my time, but yes, I do.
That was horrific. Yeah. So it was like stuff like that, or some of the other DRM ones. I forget some of the names of them, but yeah, they were all. No one liked them. None of them did anything but frustrate people who'd legitimately bought the game. Yeah.
Well, it's like Lewis Rossman said. Like, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember who. It wasn't Lewis. Someone online, when I've been watching a video about this at some point, was saying that basically they bought a game and it was really, really broken. Like, it just wouldn't work. And then it came out that basically if you downloaded a pirated version of the game, it worked fine.
Which is absurd,
and basically all they'd done is strip out the DRM. So basically people who had bought the game ended up downloading pirated versions and playing the pirated game because it was a better experience and it actually worked. And it
was... I've heard it before too with like games that required like it would poll the DRM every like certain period, or like every time you loaded it, and like people that had patchy internet connections would just pirate it instead because it didn't do that, so it ran a lot more reliably.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You've bought it, you paid for it. It's this whole thing, like, I don't know.
You don't own anything.
I think it doesn't stop people pirating. That's the thing. It doesn't actually work. Like, no one who was going to pirate it is stopped from pirating it by DRM is being there. And therefore, the only effect that DRM has is makes it a worse experience for people who have paid for it versus the people who download it for free. apart from the risk of potentially downloading a virus, blah, 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 blah. But, that's their risk, isn't it?
Exactly.
So... I wonder then... It's futile, really. It's pointless.
Yeah. And so do you think, assuming that we keep going down this, like, current direction, which hopefully people like FUTO are fighting against, but assuming we keep going down this direction of, like, everything being stuff that you rent and you don't own anything, do you think there's, like, gonna spring up a little industry of people, like, keeping these old things that don't work that like, don't work in the kind of modern way of doing things alive? So, like, I don't know, perhaps not older phones because their operating system's got out of date and stuff, but, like, older tech that doesn't have these problems of, like, you have to rent everything. Do you think there'll be more people, like, getting into that?
I don't think there'll be any more or less than there already is. Cause I think there's a big community already around keeping older tech devices. I don't think people who were like, oh, I wish I could play this PS4 game are going to go, oh, well, I can't. I know, I'll get a PS2 instead. I think that's unlikely.
Yeah, probably is.
Like the leap from the PS4 down to the PS3 is quite significant. The PS3 down to the PS2, if I remember correctly, is not quite as steep, but I think like from the PS4 to the PS2 would definitely be like a...
Yeah, that'll be a significant
downgrade. The graphics on the PS2 are bad.
There are some...
By today's standards, they're really bad.
There are some end-of-era PS2 games that look almost as good as start-of-era PS3 games.
Yeah.
But like they're not very far apart in terms of like release
I think
date.
There was a period, wasn't there, where actually there were some games that were available on PS2 and PS3 that worked and looked better on PS2 when the PS3 first came out because it was such a different architecture.
I think developers struggled with it as well, and like I think they were.
But the PS3 was actually the last generation of consoles, I think, to actually be a kind of bespoke console. Yeah,
not just its own, not just like a computer.
Yeah, because after like the PS4 is running an AMD CPU, like APU basically. It's a custom one was only made for the PS4, but it is just...
It's effectively a computer.
Like there is no physical reason other than driver availability that it couldn't just run Windows.
Yeah.
It's an x86 or x64 or whatever architecture CPU with a GPU, a Radeon GPU.
And they all just like have consolidated into that now.
Yeah. Same with the Xbox as well. So
exactly.
Yeah. And then the Switch is just a smartphone. A very old smartphone. Basically. It's I think it's I don't think it's even running like NVIDIA graphics. Oh no, it is running NVIDIA. No, ignore me on that. I think it's running an NVIDIA chip actually, the Switch, isn't it?
I was going to say, because surely the OLED one is.
Yeah, no, the OLED one I don't think even has different hardware other than the fact that it's got an OLED.
Oh, really? They didn't upgrade anything else, just literally...
I don't think so, no.
Different screen.
I think that was a whole... I remember there being a whole thing about that. Like, people were expecting a performance bump, and then there wasn't.
Yeah, it was just...
it's just a bigger OLED screen that's OLED.
Yeah. Which I guess is an upgrade, but yeah, you kind of expect a performance upgrade.
Yeah, now you get burnt in pixels and less brightness. Fantastic. But if you're in a dark room, it looks way better. I mean, that's pretty much the sell, right?
Well, who's playing their portable console anywhere but a darkened room?
Yeah, I bought a portable console so I could stay at home with it at all times.
Yeah, in a darkened room.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't buy it to play outdoors or while on the go in direct sunlight.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like I say, it does worry me as well.
Support your local
I think just maybe the answer is to lobby so that I think do your best to support alternatives to this in terms of like if there are open source projects that are working around it, if you can donate to them and support them how you can. If you have coding ability and stuff and you can get involved and want to, you have the know-how and the will to do it, get involved. And also maybe just don't get emotionally invested in things that you there's no alternative other than to have this no ownership model way of getting access to them.
That's it, 'cause they say vote with your wallet, but like with a lot of tech stuff, you really don't have the option to do that.
Maybe just don't watch the latest season of whatever Squid Game or whatever.
Squid Game. Just never watch any TV made after the year 2005.
Well, there is some stuff that you can still get. I don't know. I don't know.
Then if you watch the new stuff, you'll be tainted with its newness. You'll lose hipster cred for watching the new stuff.
Well, just go back to watching Friends.
And don't watch any films that aren't in black and white.
Buy a box set of Friends and Frasier, and that'll have you.
Maybe Seinfeld.
Watch them on loop forevermore. That's all you need. That's the solution.
And then also make sure you skip any episodes that have not aged well.
Yeah. Speaking of games that run awfully for no good reason, I recently got into playing a game called Dead by Daylight with a couple of my friends, and I've had some issues.
Which one's Dead by Daylight?
It's the one where it's a multiplayer game, basically. You have 4 survivors and 1 killer, basically, and the killer goes around trying to put people on hooks, basically, and stop them fixing generators in order to then be able to open a gate and escape the arena.
I know the one. I was getting mixed up with Dying Light, which is a different game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dead by Daylight is kind of like what was that one where 4 players took on a monster? Anyway, I know the game you mean.
Yeah, so I've been playing that with some friends, and frustratingly, neither of them had an issue. One of my friends was playing it on, she's playing it on a PS5, I believe, and my other friend is playing on an ancient gaming laptop that is like probably worse performing than my old gaming PC, which was really terrible. Let alone my still pretty like just below average, I'd say, gaming PC that I've got at the moment with a GTX 1660 and a Ryzen 3800X. But basically, they were having no issues playing on ultra settings, and I was on ultra settings, and it was fine until I moved my mouse, and then it would dip to less than a frame a second pretty much consistently every time.
That's a significant drop. So that's like, it basically turned into a slideshow.
Worse than a slideshow. It would just kind of give up until I stopped moving the mouse, and then it'd be fine again.
Oh my god.
But basically every time I moved the mouse.
And it's not a super intensive game, right, graphically. But
made even more weird, though, by if I was just walking forward, sideways, backwards, the frame rate stayed stable. It was only when I moved the mouse.
That's so strange.
So, this was a very frustrating issue to solve.
Yes. Have you solved it?
Well, yes and no. So, not least because when I looked into it initially, tons of other people are having exactly the same issue to this day, and have been having this issue since the game released on PC.
Right.
As far as I can tell.
And is it like, have they got anything in common?
Yes. So...
Oh no.
It seems to be exclusively affecting people with a high DPI mouse.
Oh, weird.
It turns out that in their infinite wisdom, the Dead by Daylight developers, I can't remember who make it, are running an older version of Unreal Engine. And in that older version was a feature that basically every game had disabled because it never worked properly, called mouse smoothing.
Oh.
I'm not really entirely sure what it was supposed to do. I think it was supposed to basically prevent faster than required mouse movements. So if your DPI was set high, you didn't have to automatically change the slider in the game and stuff.
To be fair, whenever I see mouse smoothing in like an option in a game, I'll always turn it off anyway.
Yeah. Well,
just 'cause it feels weird.
It does. And it would be great if you could just do that, right?
Oh, but you can't disable it.
There is no option for it in the game. In fact, the controls in the game are woefully lacking. There is basically nothing. You can basically set high, medium, ultra, low, or whatever on the graphics. V-Sync on or off, frame rate limiter. I think that's about it.
Wow.
Like there's not much, and if you go into the gameplay settings, there's basically nothing. You can't really change the controls or anything, or turn any of that stuff off. So there were some older fixes where you could go and add this thing into one of the many game files that would supposedly turn mouse smoothing off.
I was going to say, because normally it's like, oh, you got someone's figured out in some kind of mega 1000 IQ move. They're like, okay, go into your game files folder. You want to go into start.ini, edit that in Notepad.
It was basically that. It was engine.ini or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the directories that every single one of those guides pointed you to don't exist in my install for some reason. And I found a directory that looked like it had exactly the same files in it, but the file that they told me to go into and modify something in was completely empty, and pasting the string into it, well, the first time I did it, it made it so my mouse was invisible when I loaded the game, which was quite unhelpful, and also didn't fix the problem either. The second time I did it, it just did nothing. And then so then I decided to try using a cheap, shitty mouse, see whether that worked, and it did.
So it's 100% just caused by the DPI of the mouse?
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, so I just decided, right, I guess I'll just have to play this with this cheap Logitech mouse. And then the other day, when I loaded up the game and started playing it, I forgot to do that. And for some reason, I have no idea why, my mouse now works fine in it.
I guess no update. There's been no game update. Just
no.
It just needed to see that you had that other mouse. That is so weird though, because like what happened with plugging in that other mouse?
Yeah. So then, to quote my line that I put in the topic stock, Dead by Daylight, more like shit by all light.
That is like, how has that not been fixed?
I don't know, man.
After all this time, did the developers ever comment on these threads?
No.
Be like, just nothing.
And there's tons of threads. There's threads on the developers' official forum, Reddit, Tom's Hardware, Linus Tech Tips, everywhere. And
yeah, it's like clearly a lot of people, because a lot of people have high DPI mouses in gaming now.
Well, yeah, basically everybody who's into gaming.
Yeah. How high of a DPI did it have to be, do you think, to cause
I don't know, because mine's just that cheap, shitty mouse that I got in that Secret Santa all that time ago at our previous employer.
Oh, God.
It's not even a particularly great mouse.
That's like it's like a name brand.
No.
It's just like gaming. Maybe that's the problem. No, I'm pretty sure it's a game.
No, because people were like having this problem with like Logitech, Extreme, whatever, Master,
exactly,
bullshit mouse things.
It's clearly the game, but like, how have they not? That feels like such an easy patch.
Yeah, because I was like tearing my hair out trying to figure out why it was happening. I was looking at like there was even like people suggesting, oh, it might be your GPU's overheating, your CPU's overheating, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's not that, but for the sake of argument, or it could be thermal throttling. So I was like monitoring my thermals. I downloaded Furmark and Cinebench and was running them both at the same time, monitoring my power usage and everything, checking if it was throttling more than expected, and it was all fine. And I was like, and I was looking in Dead by Daylight, and my GPU usage was never going above 40%, according to Nvidia's control panel, not the wanky Task Manager one that's not really very accurate, and according to Hardware Monitor, and my CPU was barely going above like 15% usage. So it's like,
yes,
I'm pretty sure it's not a like performance issue. My hardware is more than capable of rendering. Like I've been playing much more graphically intensive games recently, and it was handling them at 75 FPS without a sweat.
Like, so why would it now suddenly be? And then why only when you move the mouse? Like what? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
so it is ridiculous. It's so it came out in initially in 2016, and then the PC version in 2021, it looks like.
Yeah, that's unacceptable, isn't it?
Or at least that's what it says on Epic Games. I thought it was on PC first, actually. So hang on, let's have a look.
Well, I thought so too. I thought it was PC initially.
Yeah, because my first reaction was like, oh, fucking console ports. Because I remember like playing the Batman games, like they're all limited to 60 FPS because they're
I remember people complaining about that.
But you can go in and change something so that they're not. Yeah,
again, someone did like 1,000 IQ move of like, oh, you just go in this file and edit this bit. But because I thought at first it was going to be VSync related, just sort of like.
Well, there were people suggesting that, but I tried all those things. I tried overriding the graphics settings using the NVIDIA control panel, everything.
Yeah, and like for all the people that raised those forum threads and talked about it, how many people had the issue?
Yeah, it was released on Windows in 2016.
Yeah.
So 8 years ago.
And they've still not fixed what's clearly like a common issue. And it's not like, did you say it was Epic Games?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not made by Epic Games. It's using the Unreal Engine.
Oh, okay. But still, like that feels like such an easy fix.
Yeah.
To just make everyone's lives easier. Yeah. And like how many people have refunded the game because of that?
Also, it caused me to lose face because my friend who plays with on a PS5, I'm always ribbing them saying, look, my PC is so much better than any console. It's like I can do all these things with it. I can play games with a keyboard and mouse, which is a superior input method for the vast majority of games, etc., etc. And there they were, just loading up the game and it working fine, and me going, fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
that's the worst
like
part
of all the times for it to happen. Like my PC basically never has an issue running a game ever. And the one time it does is with this particular person doing a cross-platform multiplayer thing. It's just like, oh, really? Why have you got to do me like this?
I think you losing face is the worst part of all.
It is. I think I should sue them.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest insult of all.
Yeah.
And if you want...
I'm sorry, Daddy Gaben. I tried.
if you want a less frustrating experience using your computer, one that won't break if you have a high DPI mouse, then I'd recommend moving that beautiful high DPI mouse down to the subscribe, follow, like, share, whatever it is button on your platform of choice.
Feel free to leave an obscene comment under the video on YouTube.
Ideally obscene.
Yeah, all attention is good attention.
Yeah, we'll make a deliberate spelling error in the title.
Yeah, so you can point it out to us.
Yeah, and people will comment, and then that'll drive engagement.
Yeah, people can point out to me how Lewis Rossman is a crook and all that.
We'll spell Lewis Rossman's name with one N in the description, and everyone can correct us.
But whatever you do not tell Amazon. I'm not going to. If you were thinking of it and you've forgotten what you're not supposed to tell them, don't try and skip back to the beginning of this episode. I'm not going to remind you. But if you know, you know.
If you have told Amazon, that means you'll no longer be able to listen to us on Audible.
No.
So you'll have to instead find us on
Pocket Casts. Is Google Podcasts expired yet?
We have this every time. It might be by the time this one comes out.
I think it's July, right?
I think it will be by the time this one comes out.
Hang on. Killed by Google. One day we'll
one day
we'll actually finish a podcast in a smooth way. Jambo Google Podcast killed 4 months ago. No, but it wasn't killed 4 months ago.
It wasn't killed. It was announced it was being killed. Anyway, I think it will be killed by the time this comes out.
We've got to be factual, Kieran.
You have to know. Some things are important. I'm sure it's in a couple of weeks at the date of this recording.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember it being July.
It's like end of July, I think. So, it's July 29th. You'll be able to.
So 10 days from the date of recording. So yeah, by the time this episode comes out, Google Podcast is dead. So yeah, Pocket Casts. is our replacement for Google Podcasts. It's open source. It's fantastic. It's available on iOS, Android. You can get it on PC and Mac if you so desire, but you will have to pay for the pro version. But hey ho, who listens to podcasts on that platform? Anyway, I like Pocket Casts. It's good. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and a handful of other places if you should so desire. If you go to the link in the description on any platform that you're watching, I think podcasters.spotify.com/whatever it is, that will show all the platforms we're available on, basically.
Enter this URL that I've not quite fully read out. Download us. Download our sponsor at nordvpn.com/ I don't know, but anyway, you'll find it. Newsground News and I don't know, Dollar Shave Club and shaveyourballs.com or whatever the fuck that one's called. Manscaped.
That's it, Manscaped. And if you have been, thank you very much for watching and listening. We shall see you again soon. Bye-bye.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Jesus, that was the worst outro I think I've ever done.
We covered all the platforms at least. That's amazing.
It was rough. That was rough, man.
It was a struggle. But we had to be factual.
Yeah.